Jonathan Perry. I heard you mention that L. Ron Hubbard said that Jesus was a criminal and a pedophile. I thought that all the Abrahamic and other religions were constructs that you were brainwashed with and therefore didn't exist. So how could Jesus exist and not exist at the same time? Okay, Jonathan, thank you for this. And this answer is probably going to surprise you a little bit. This is a really good question, and it gives me an opportunity to talk about some other aspect of the mythology or cosmology of Scientology that I just hadn't thought of to talk about before. And this is not only the Jesus claims, but how implants work. Okay, so we have talked in the past, and I have done videos and answers in the past about implants, which is basically Hubbard's another word for brainwashing or thought reform, using intensive pain, drug, hypnosis, control mechanisms, smacking the guy around, Manchurian Candidate kind of stuff. That would be called an implant. The Manchurian Candidate, the guy who's programmed by the enemy to, mentally programmed and hypnotized to go do certain things or act a certain way, that's an implant. And Hubbard claims that Jesus and religion and Catholicism and angels and cherubs and demons and winged beings and all these concepts of good and evil and all this stuff come from implants, very powerful implants, not just one or two of them, thousands and thousands of them. And they build on each other over time, right? And also there is the Xenu story, which is all about implanting all kinds of crazy ideas in our noggins, which we have carried forward through the millennia to create our society by these implants. We have religion, we have sex, we have, this worship of the body and the care of the body and necessity to have bodies. And all of these things come from these implants. So if they're just made up, then what's the thing? Then how is Jesus a criminal and a pedophile? Well, Hubbard also posited that there was more to this picture than just machines and electronics and implants. He also sort of inferred or implied or stated in a few lectures, and they're so obscure I couldn't even dig them up. I'm just pulling this out of my memory here for you. But he talked about how Markab, the Markabian Confederacy or the Galactic Confederation, or these various government entities out there that run interstellar, planet, sort of galaxy-wide societies, engaged in conquest. And in conquest and in their efforts to conquer planets and invade them and this sort of thing, they would use implants, but they would also use real world activity and actions to reinforce the implants. So they implant a bunch of people with the idea that religion is important and that there is a savior figure coming. Well, then you want to move in and take over the planet, so you send in a Jesus. A real one. Like, you send a guy down there and he starts stirring stuff up. And the planet, the civilization or the society where you're sending him in has already been primed way earlier. These invader timetables take hundreds of years, right? Maybe thousands. I mean, they plan this stuff way ahead. So they're going to invade planet X. So the first thing they do is they start priming planet X by sending in agent provocateurs and sending in people who, are hidden. People don't know that they're sending an alien down there, but he looks like and talks like and acts like the residents of the planet, let's say. And they figure out how to do that, and they get in there and they do that. Or the invader force might actually have some spiritual awareness. They might know about thetans or the existence of spiritual beings or something to some degree, not enough to be able to make OTs and free people or do any auditing, but they know that this is kind of how things are. And so they might send a guy down there in some kind of spiritual form to go, take a body from the native planet. Then he is a native, but he's down there to prime the planet with propaganda. He's going to spread, these ideas of that a savior is coming one day, and he starts a religion, gets this religious idea going. He's not necessarily the religious figurehead. He's a prophet, let's say. He dies off. The thing carries on, because they know how to plant these seeds and get this kind of thing going, because they've done it hundreds of times, thousands of times. And so they get these things brewing, and then they send a Christ guy down there. And everybody goes gaga, right? And he's actually a representative from Markab or the Invader forces or whatever. So he's just forwarding their agenda by reinforcing the religious implants and the religious ideas. And then they just keep hitting them with this stuff. Between lives, when they die, they implant them with this and send them back down. Not Jesus, but the planetary population, right? This is all about population control, via how L. Ron Hubbard posits it would occur in the distant past, right? And now, because he says that Earth is also controlled this way. He says there's all kinds of forces, hitting Earth and have been hitting Earth for, over the years. So we've had different influences on us. So that is how I understand. And please, it's vague allusions. I am elaborating on some of this, okay? Not too much, because a lot of what I'm saying is pretty much what Hubbard was describing, but I'm filling in some gaps and some details. Hubbard was very vague about this stuff. It was drop a hint here, drop a hint there, not really fully explaining all of this in any one place, which is why I'm kind of trying my best to put things together that I remember about this and answer your questions. So I think that's a pretty accurate rendition of how that would work, and how you have Schrodinger's Jesus, so to speak.